The thing I love about surfing is it never stops challenging you. It's a journey through the waves, but also through your very soul.
These nuggets are made from chicken.
Manatees are the Cadillac of marine mammals.
Just wanted to welcome you to the team with this little video. You need to capture your screen while recording yourself? Descript does that.
Emulate the taste of like non-chicken nuggets.
Yeah, I went too far. Okay.
So, these nuggets are made from chicken, but they're made to emulate the taste of non-chicken nuggets. Dope.
Oh, that's much better.
Then edit all the blather out of your videos because my time is very precious.
Oh, that's fire.
It's been said that manatees are the Cadillac of marine mammals.
Perfecto. Can you fix the color while you're there? Make it less teal and more...
Cerulean? Sure.
It needs more style, it needs more clips, more gifs, more.
Replace your background with something more fun? I prefer the cold void of outer space.
Let's boost that sound quality. Emulate the taste of non-chicken nuggets. Emulate the taste of non-chicken nuggets. Dope.
The thing I love about surfing is it's a journey through the waves. It never stops challenging you. Well, I might have made it too gnarly.
Sounds tasty.
It's a real movie, Rhonda.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us for today's Storyboard AMA with our CEO Andrew and Product Manager Pranav. I'm Lara, a video producer here at Descript, and I'll be your host for the next hour. So, as you may know, it's been a pretty big week here at Descript. We officially launched the all-new Descript into the world. You can try it for yourself right now. And we announced that OpenAI is leading our Series C fundraise, so lots going on, lots to hear about. So that's why I'm going to play a video where our CEO, again, Andrew, dives into all the details of our release and funding. Then Pranav is going to give us like a little tiny baby tutorial and show off some of the new features of the all-new Descript. But the bulk of our time today will be spent with you, our audience, for an AMA. That stands for Ask Me Anything. In this case, it's Ask Us. You can ask Andrew and Pranav any questions you have about the updates, and I do mean any questions. Sorry, I tried to joke and I failed. You can come backstage and ask us questions live, or you can send text questions in the Ask a Question section on Crowdcast. Feel free to send your questions there as we go. We'll collect them for the AMA afterward. And if you do want to ask your questions live on the stream with us, type the word live, L-I-V-E, in all caps at the start of your question. Then we'll share a link to come backstage to ask your question here on the screen with us once the AMA starts. Okay, that was all the housekeeping. So let's get the details from the man himself, Andrew Mason. Here is the video.
Hi there, my name is Andrew Mason, and I'm the CEO of Descript. Today is a really big day for us. First, we're releasing an all-new version of Descript that we've been working on for over a year. And second, we're announcing that OpenAI Startup Fund is going to be leading a $50 million Series C fundraise for us. So I'm going to talk about both of these things, but first the product release. If you haven't seen the current version of Descript, just really quick, it's basically an audio and video editor that transcribes everything so you can then edit your recordings like It's basically an audio and video editor that transcribes everything so you can then edit your recordings like you would edit a doc. And there's a bunch of other magic AI stuff that we have in there. Like, for example, you can create a clone of your voice. So then you can just make edits to your recordings by typing what you wish you said, by typing what you meant to say, and it generates the audio and blends it in automatically. Lots of cool stuff like that. We've been around about 5 years now, and every year we release more and more stuff to make Descript a more powerful, more complete video editor. things are going pretty well. We're now at a point where a lot of great podcasts are made with Descript. YouTube creators are using it, TikTokers, businesses are using it for everything from quick video messaging for internal collaboration to social clips to creating presentations and marketing materials. What we see ourselves being up to at a higher level is really trying to just reimagine the way that video editors are designed so they're no longer a tool for creative professionals exclusively, but they're in everybody's communication toolkit, right there next to docs and slides. But we think to pull that off, it's not enough to just take a gross timeline editor and move it to the cloud and make it collaborative or whatever, because timeline editing will always be a grind. It's just always going to be slow when you stand it up next to text as an alternative. So we think if you really want people to be as prolific with video as they are with docs and slides, then the tools need to be as fast, intuitive, and flexible as docs and slides. So more than ever, that is what we're trying to do with this all-new version of Descript that we are releasing today. Here it is. And I'll just give you the world's quickest demo here. I'll start by recording some video, and look, it's transcribing as I go. And if you make mistakes, no problem, you just edit them out like you would in a doc. Now here's where the slides part of it comes in. Whenever I want the visuals to change, I just type a slash, and that creates this thing that we call a scene. And then you just arrange your visual shots the way you would arrange slides. So Descript becomes like this mashup of a doc and a slide deck. So like here, I have a scene where my camera's big, and here I have another one where the screen is big and the camera's small. Maybe in this one, I'll use Descript's one-click AI green screen because we have that, it's a new feature. And now in this scene, I'll drop in one of our millions of pieces of premium stock media because that's a new feature we're launching today too. Anyway, I hope you get the idea. Here's a link to where we have a much longer overview with all the new features and stuff. But the point I'm trying to show you here is that I'm doing all of this just by interacting with the script in the canvas, like docs and slides. It's super fast, familiar, and fun. And just because sometimes I worry that when I show this off, it could come off as simplistic or like gimmicky, I just want to show you that under the hood, there is, still a full timeline editor, and we've got tons of really powerful features. That I think is the coolest thing about Descript is that we didn't really make a choice between being simple or powerful. We figured out how we could use AI to reimagine video editing in a way that we could be both of those things. So this release is a full redesign around this concept of scenes, and there's a ton of new features that make Descript a really capable, mature video editor, and we hope you'll give it a try. There's a free version and everything, and if you decide to pay, it's not that expensive. Okay, so that's the product update, and now I want to tell you everything about this investment from the OpenAI Startup Fund. So normally if you're a company like ours, you spend the first several years losing money. And to keep things running, you periodically sell off a chunk of the company to venture capitalists who give you the money that you need to run the business and other benefits like access to their network or neat ideas that they got from watching their kids use their phones. But sometimes you find investors where there's also some strategic overlap, and that brings us to OpenAI. Artificial intelligence is now being used to generate audio, like in Descript, but also text and images and video, and it's getting really good. And this company, OpenAI, is right at the center of it. For example, they have this text generation thing called GPT-3, and people in companies are using it to generate things like marketing copy or to automatically write code. They have something else called Dolly that you might have heard of, where you can just type words and it'll make a picture of those words. And these things are good and useful and getting better at breakneck speed. In addition to building these services, OpenAI has set up an investment fund where they're looking to support and accelerate the layer of companies who are able to integrate these services in useful ways in fields like healthcare, education, or creativity.
Well, I might have made it too gnarly.
So Descript is now one of those companies because they took a look at Descript and I guess they saw what we see, which is that our kind of interaction model for making video content, not only is it made possible because of AI, but it really is the ideal receptacle for this coming explosion of AI-enabled content capabilities. So much of this crazy progress that's happening in AI is happening in text, audio, and video generation, and Descript is right at the intersection of those things. So we feel really grateful to have the support of OpenAI. This AI stuff is going to be transformative. It's going to impact us all before we know it, and we couldn't have asked for a better partner to help us navigate it than OpenAI. More practically speaking, this partnership is going to mean some great new stuff coming to Descript in the next year. The new version that we're releasing today is really just laying the foundation for this new kind of video editor that we're excited to keep building with you. So go out and try the new version. You can download it for free and see what we're up to, and we hope you like it a lot. Thanks.
Cool. So now that we have all those details, I'm going to bring up Pranav to give us a little tutorial of the new Descript. There he is. Hi, Pranav.
Hey, Laura. Thanks for getting everything started.
Sure, anytime.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name's Pranav. I'm a product manager here at Descript. And I'm going to just get us started by walking through some of the changes in the new version of the app. So this is going to be a little bit of a breeze through a couple different use cases, one being podcasting, but looking at a video podcast, and then another where we look at some screencasting, and then of course we'll jump into all of your questions. All right, let me start by sharing my screen. Is this showing up? Awesome. Okay, I think we've got the screen up. So once you open a new project in Descript, you will see the new layout. So just to get started, we've got a simple empty state here. So starting with the podcasting example, so I'm going to use a podcast that one of our colleagues here, Andrew, not CEO Andrew, other Andrew, recorded with a few of his friends around developer tools. And you could just get started by hitting choose a file to transcribe, pick a bunch of files. It's a multi-cam recording from Riverside or Squadcast or one of the other remote recording tools. So you can actually select multiple files at once and bring them in. Or if you wanted to start with a sequence, you could actually make an empty sequence and then add the files here. So you can upload them individually and create a sequence. But if you just use the empty state, you can just select multiple files at once, bring them all in, and we'll offer to make a sequence for you. And you'll basically end up with something that looks like this once it's transcribed. So here we've got essentially 3 different people in a remotely recorded interview. So if we take a quick look inside the sequence, you'll see that we've got 3 different tracks here. So we've got one for Andrew, one for Jared, one for Justin. The sequencer in Descript now in Storyboard and basically going forward is primarily meant for you to line up the waveforms and make audio edits. So you'll see here, that's really what this is being used for. You can just scroll vertically and it will scroll vertically. If you want to scroll sideways, if you have a trackpad, you can do that. Otherwise, you can hold Shift to scroll sideways and hold Command while scrolling to zoom in and out. The sequencer is now no longer the place where you make any video adjustments. So you'll notice as I click into different tracks, the video is just updating and it's just showing you a preview of the track that you're in. Any actual adjustments to your video layout will now be made in the composition itself. So you'll see even the properties here are really only about the audio. You'll notice that the new property panel here is now for the track, and we actually separate the clips out here. So if I wanted to make an adjustment to just this one clip, I can always open this popover, adjust, say, the volume level or the clip speed for just this one. But if you wanted to adjust something for the entire track, you can make a track level adjustment here. So you could adjust the pan, audio levels, or add some audio effects. So that's a quick overview of the new sequencer. You still have all of the timeline tools in here. So let's move over into the composition then. So once you do actually bring that sequence into a composition, which again, we will do automatically for you if you're just starting from the empty state. But if you did go in here, manually create a sequence, you can always just select it and insert that into the script and you'll get it in your composition. Once you're here, we'll automatically create the different layers for all of the cameras here. And this is where scenes start to come into their own. So let's say you wanted to, have a shot that's just Justin while Justin's speaking here. Well, you can just delete the others and have this be all about Justin. That's the basics of how you would use scenes with a multicam sequence like this. If all you cared was you just wanted to sort of automatically switch between whoever was speaking at a given moment in time. We've also got add scenes by active speaker. So that's similar to auto assign multicam in Classic. And so if you just hit that, that will add scenes by active speaker within whatever scene you have selected. But it won't actually affect other scenes. So if you've already started to build interesting layouts in certain ranges, it won't affect that. But if you haven't yet done this auto assignment of cameras for, say, the rest of the interview, I can just do that. And in one go, it's going to go through the entire composition and just automatically add a whole bunch of scenes, as you can see there, by whoever is speaking at that moment. So you can see as I scroll through, this is Andrew, this is Jared, back to Andrew, and so on. Some other key features that I'm sure you're used to from Classic still here. So you can remove filler words, shorten word gaps. All of them are still exactly where you expect them to be, where you want them to be. I'm going to show you one other quick thing, which is, let's say you wanted, after you've made your way through editing this, which in the script works pretty similarly to how it always has. You can select words, copy, paste, delete them. Let's say you found a section that you thought would make for a great clip for social. There's the duplicate to feature, which is pretty much the same idea as clip to composition from Classic. And you can just hit that, pick a new composition. You could clip to a folder. You could go to an existing composition. So I pulled out one social clip here earlier and started building this. So I'll show you how I did that kind of from scratch again. So let's go back to, this is, after a whole bunch of edits, what that podcast ended up looking like. So let's say I wanted to pick this section and clip this to a new composition. So I hit that. Great, it's been added to a new composition, so I can open that. So you'll see now, this is still in landscape, but let's say I wanted to make something for Reels or TikTok. You can just head over here to composition settings and switch this over to portrait. And let's say now that, this one's primarily like Justin and Andrew talking to each other. So I want to make this a whole lot bigger. I want to make Justin a whole lot bigger. So kind of got the two of them talking to each other. And I want to add some captions. So I can just head up here to the text insert options and add some captions. Great. We've got a bunch of fun presets here. So if you take a look at live text, and there's a few other options that we've had previously as well. But if you take a look in here, now you've got a few different presets. So this is just like straightforward captions, but you could still have this karaoke style captions, which is like fancy captions we've had in Descript for a while. You could go for a cleaner look where it's just one word coming in at a time. And of course, you can customize all of these colors. You can customize how future words come in, what the active word highlight looks like. So maybe I want to pick a different color. And for the future words, I want it to be really, really faint. So great. I've got a little bit of a customized caption there. And then I want to build a waveform. So kind of building my own video audiogram template here let's say we increase the magnitude a bit. Awesome. And for the last thing, I think like black isn't really quite what I want. So I just clicked out here. You could also just click on the scene thumbnail here to select the scene. And I can pick a different background color. So let's say I wanted something more in line with this. Oh, and I also do have Jared here. Let's say I didn't want him in that. So great. So it's maybe not my favorite shade of greens. I've done better in the past.
For those of our listeners who might not be aware, I'm going to make a really terrible.
Awesome. And if you wanted to get really crazy with it, you could start to do other things like applying green screen and building, a completely different look where maybe you want to stack them both down here and put some visuals up here in the background. So anyway, you can have a lot of fun with this. I'm going to move on to showing you a quick example of a screen recording. So another thing you could do if you just started with our new just like blank slate is you could start a recording. So you could head in here and start recording, say, your screen or just audio, just your camera.
Hey, Pranav, not to interrupt, but if you could switch to light mode from dark mode, we're receiving a lot of requests for that in the chat. So
Absolutely.
also it has
Let's
been
do
noted
that.
for future events. So thank you.
Awesome. Okay. We're in light mode now. So yeah, you can use the recorder. So in this case, I was making an update for my team, and I wanted to kind of talk through a bunch of changes and our roadmap for where we were heading post release with Storyboard. So I've used a recorder, and I basically went in and started recording my screen and my camera, and just shot like 21 minutes of footage of me kind of almost stream of consciousness, just like going through different things in the app, going through different things in a Notion doc. And our new multi-track recorder got us, 2 different streams here that I can now actually edit in post. So I can just make some scenes, and I could say, for this section, for example, the thing that I care about is the screen. So I can just remove my face from that. And I could start using our new crop feature. So maybe the thing I care about the most is actually the bit on the right where I'm demoing parts of the app. So I just crop that down. And now I might want to zoom in on something. And so I'm going to create a scene where primarily focused in here. And in fact, like maybe what I want to do is add a little bit of an animation where I zoom into that over time. And so you can see here, this has created an animation. You can see kind of the 2 keyframes where this is a little more zoomed out. And then over time, it's kind of zooming in. It's kind of zooming into a random place. So I wanted to zoom in on where I'm creating that text. So I just move it over while I'm at this keyframe. And now I can kind of see it zooming in there. Perfect. There's also a bunch of other interesting things I could do. So for example, if I wanted to create a different scene where I put myself in a little bit of a picture-in-picture bubble, and I build this up. Let me exit animation mode. Make sure I'm in the scene and make that full screen. And now I can also actually like round the corners off on this a little bit and get a nice sort of picture-in-picture look going there. So you can start to build different sort of templates and layouts like this. And then the cool thing is you can actually now just copy paste them from scene to scene. So let's say I wanted to reuse this picture-in-picture layout that I just came up with somewhere else. So let's say I look here and I want to paste. All I did is hit Command V. So just all I did was copy from down here, just Command C, and then I just hit paste up here, and I got the exact same layout over the content that I have here. So that's an example of some of the stuff you can do with the new multi-track recorder. You can build some really interesting screencasts. You can obviously cut to scenes where it's just you on camera. So I could build something like this where there's a scene where it's just me in full screen. I could also do other things like use templates. So for example, here I'm talking about basically introducing what I'm going to talk about. So maybe what I do is I take one of our Descript branded templates that we've built internally and is shared in our drive, and I can pull in one of these. So maybe I just want the title card. So I'll just pull that in. So I just hit the title. Perfect. So I could say Q4 editor updates. And now I've just got this great title card at the start, and then it cuts into some of my other scenes where maybe I haven't built this yet, but you could see how you could build on this. And I'll just show you, real quick what some of the finished product after a bunch of editing looks like. So I'll play maybe a few seconds of this.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. I wanted to talk you through basically what a lot of the Q4 priorities look like, which really also is basically the set of things that...
Awesome. All right. I'm going to stop there. Hopefully that covered a bunch of the new things with Storyboard. Obviously, there's a whole lot more that we haven't covered here, and a whole bunch of video tutorial content, a whole bunch of stuff in the Help Center that should help you get started. But I will also let Lara come back and we can get going with this AMA.
Great. Thanks so much, Pranav. Before we get into the AMA, I was just noticing a lot of questions in the chat on specific features or tutorial content. So just as a reminder, just go to help.descript.com for a lot of new tutorial content that we made just for this release. You can also go to our YouTube at youtube.com/Descript for full-length tutorials on video and editing content, audio editing content. So just if you have any specific questions, that's what we're here for today. It is the AMA. Remember to type the word live, LIVE, in front of your question in the chat if you'd like to come on with us here on video. Otherwise, we have been taking note of your questions and we'll be answering them today. So let's keep those questions coming and bring up our CEO, Andrew Mason, if you'd like to join us. Hi.
Hi. Hi.
All right. So
is Pranav coming up too?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
Someone correct me. Oh yes, there he is. Now everybody's here and everybody's so happy. Okay, let's bring up our first audience member, Megan. We have Megan on deck here. Hi, Megan. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. I am a branding and web designer, and I also have a podcast that I use Descript to edit. Basically, we record our podcast in Zoom, and so the output is essentially like a multi-window recording instead of different tracks for a sequence. And so one of the things that I use Descript one of the things that I do with my podcast is I like to chop it up into little clips for TikTok and for other short form video platforms. But the thing is, right now, I'm kind of basically editing the podcast in Descript and then taking it over to like Canva or some other kind of video editing platform where I can like essentially have video on the top and video on the bottom. Is there a way to do that where like in the new version of Descript where I can basically just like duplicate that video file and use that crop tool that you were just talking about?
Sure, Pranav.
Yeah. I think you should be able to do that. You just want to create a sequence. So let me try to show something here, and we'll see how much sense this makes. So you should be able to head over into the media library, go to files, create a new sequence, and then basically take the same file and add it twice. So let's say you're getting this like single flat file from Zoom that's just got different things in different places. I don't have that example right here, but maybe this is a decent example. So let's take this file and I can just place it twice onto a sequence. And let's say I don't need the audio doubling up, so I'll mute one of them. I now have a sequence where it's basically two of the same thing, and I can, so we'll call this the doubled up sequence. And now I'll make a new composition, and let's add that sequence in here. So I want to insert it into the script rather than as an overlay on the scene. So I make sure I hit that, and I insert this into the script. So now I've basically got two versions of this. And so what I could do is I could crop this one to be just the bit on the right. And now I have this object that I can kind of place freely. And I want to crop this one to be just the bit on the left. And now I can kind of do whatever I want with this. Does that get at your question, Megan?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, thank you so much.
Awesome.
All right. So it looks like we have another person here. Hi, Avery.
Hello. Wow, this is fun. I've never been backstage before. Thanks for having me, and thanks for doing this event. It's been really awesome to see these new tools.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
So you can go ahead and ask your question of these fine fellows.
Sweet. Yeah, my question is less like nitty-gritty product specific and more just kind of about the creator audio video industries in general. So if either of you had thoughts, I would love to hear it. So I work at Spotify with creators, specifically independent creators who publish podcasts and also now video through Anchor. And so kind of a similar like democratizing the creation of audio and video content. And I know you guys started out as a like podcast editing platform and still very beloved by podcasters. And I just was curious about your take on the relationship between like audio and video content and how the implications of that in the creator space more broadly. Like, is there space for just audio anymore? Obviously, like video is so popular. We just enabled video publishing at Spotify, and so yeah, I just wanted your thoughts on that because I've been thinking about that a lot myself. And obviously, you're making it easy to make high quality content of both kinds. So
yeah, that's a good question. Thanks, Avery. This is something we've thought a lot about from the very beginning as we've been trying to build this tool, because of the fact that historically audio editing tools and video editing tools are two separate categories, respectively DAWs and NLEs as they're called. And what we had to figure out is that for a good reason, or is that just some accident of history? And I think we largely ended up on the position of the latter. I mean, music is one good reason. Like music definitely needs its own tool, but we think for the creation of narrative media, the conventions that one would implement for a tool that's focused on an audio medium versus an audio visual medium should be the same. And so as we've built Descript, we've really tried to think of it as something that allows the user to not necessarily need to think in that way, and they can just seamlessly move between the two and create content once and have it work for both if that's what they're looking for. I mean, I'm not a like good prognosticator type, but as a normal person, I can't imagine audio only content going away. But it's definitely like I think what's happening with all the audio content that's on YouTube is really interesting because people tend to consume so much content with the screen turned off and just audio where it's like an option that's available. And once you pick up on that, you start to realize just how much of the content on YouTube is really just audio with window dressing, or like occasional moments where the visuals are relevant. So yeah, I don't know where things end up going, but we've just been trying to build a tool that makes it easy for people to work in both.
Cool. Thank you so much for your thoughts. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Avery. Really appreciate it, and great question.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, let's bring on our next participant. I believe it is Jandy. Can you tell me if I'm saying your name correctly? Go ahead and join us. Somebody. Hi there.
That's right. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Yeah, it's Jandy. So thank you for hosting today. And I was a Classic user for the past like 6 months. And one of my questions is I basically use Descript for creating like home videos for families. And so there's a lot of, I basically have like an audio interview and then I'm bringing in home videos and bringing in photographs. And one of the things that I have struggled with in Storyboard compared to Classic is that when it comes to the new scenes function, it seems like every time I bring in a new photograph or a new video, a new scene populates. And I don't want that to happen because I want there to be a lot of overlap between, like, there might be one picture that stays in place while 4 new images come up. And it seems like those begin to get segmented with the new scenes features coming up. So is it something I'm doing wrong, or is there a workaround around that?
So you definitely shouldn't have to only have one thing on at a time. The idea with scenes is that they're more, when you think about them more, is just like in or out points as opposed to necessarily a strict container. You could have one image that you just extend across a number of scenes, and you could have that run for however long you wanted. And a scene could just be like a useful indicator that, oh, something new came in a few words later and something else new came in a few words later. It doesn't necessarily need to mean that everything also gets cleared out, if that makes sense.
Right. And it's not that things get cleared out. It's that when a new scene, so say I have a picture of a mom and then I bring in a home video and then that picture of the mom stays and I bring in a picture of a dog. When I bring in that second picture, that picture of the mom seems to resize every time a new scene. It like say I cropped the photo or I blew up the photo, then every time a new scene comes in, it brings it back to the original size. So I need to be resizing it. Like I need to recrop it every time a new scene is introduced. So I'm basically redoing all the work that I did in the prior scene to size that initial picture or image that is going across multiple scenes.
Got it. That might be a bug actually. If that's happening, it would be very helpful for us if maybe not at this moment, but at some point you could make a quick video or something just showing us what your workflow looks like.
Okay.
Because there's possibly something we could fix there. One potential workaround in the meantime is if you do end up with different sort of layouts and different scenes, and you actually kind of want it to be the same across lots of scenes, you can pick up any object on one scene, adjust its layout however you want, and you'll see at the bottom of the properties panel on the right, this button show up called Apply to All Scenes. And you can hit that and it'll just take whatever adjustment you made on the first or your current scene and do that across all of them.
That's good to know, but like every scene is going to have a different layout, so that wouldn't work for me. And then my related question is, if I want to carry over projects that were on Classic into Storyboard, when I go to export those, it says that the files are too big and that it's something that Descript is working to address. Is there any progress on that? Because the issue is if I just copy and paste over, then all of the images get rearranged and everything's undone in Storyboard. So I can't bring over my original projects into Storyboard and keep the layout. Everything turns into disarray.
Got it. Yeah, we're still working on upping the size limit there for copying over to Storyboard. So we're making progress on that, and we should have that in the next release or two up significantly. So yeah, until then, copy pasting, I totally understand is not really a viable workaround yet. But we're hard at work on upping that size limit so that you can copy anything over from Classic into Storyboard without losing any of the adjustments you've made so far.
Okay. And then for, I mean, myself and others, like if we do encounter these potential bugs, like potentially what I'm seeing with the scenes, how do we go ahead and address that with you via the help desk? Like how do we do that?
Yeah, you can shoot a video to us via the support channels, whether that's I think on the help.descript.com website, there should be a submit option pretty prominently. Also, if you are in our Discord, you could absolutely like drop something in there and we can take a look at it.
Okay.
And
thank you
I
for
think
your help.
You can also access live support from the app. If you hit the little question mark in the corner during business hours, you can get connected to a live support agent who can help you troubleshoot those really specific things you're having. I do recommend taking a screen recording if you're encountering anything really weird like that. Just so that it will help the engineers and support agents like unpack what's going on as well. But you can always get connected during business hours to a live support agent as well. So.
And this was something that I saw asked in the question comments too. So it's not, I don't think it's a question only I have, but where are these office hours that are happening every day or for the next couple of days? Like, how do we access those?
They're in Discord.
Discord, yeah. So we just popped up the little banner below here with the link to join our Discord server. So yeah, those will be every day at 9 a.m. EST. Is that right, Andrew?
Yeah, that's right. And what I've been doing when people have issues is just have them share their screen and we try to work it through live there, which might be nice.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I see. Okay, here we are. Dan, welcome.
Howdy. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah,
can
hi,
hear you
Dan.
great.
Cool. Loving this. Love what you're doing. Very happy about open AI. Looking forward to having, dinosaurs and aliens running around behind me. So please get to work on that. The question was really about fancy captions. So one of the things that I do is I want to change the size and the font sometimes, kind of mix them up. And I'm having a really hard time doing that with Storyboard. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. But previously, all I had to do was in the timeline, just cut up the captions and then just change the fonts and the sizes. How do I do that with Storyboard?
You should still be able to cut them up. I'm curious what part of that isn't working for you.
It was a few weeks ago that I was working on it and I just sort of abandoned it, but that should still work, right?
Yeah, it should definitely still be working.
Is your workflow that you're starting by adding fancy captions to the entire composition and then you're going back and cutting it up?
Yeah, it's just, it's a voiceover and I'm putting the fancy captions on top of it and want to change up the captions as I do it, the colors and the different things. And so clearly, I guess if that's still a function of it, I must be doing something wrong.
Yeah. Feel free to stop by office hours tomorrow and we can look at it together. The thing to keep in mind is that all of those properties are scene level now, kind of like Pranav was talking about a minute ago. And the implication of that is anytime you change something on one scene, it's only going to change to that scene unless you intentionally copy it to other scenes. So if you have a lot of scenes going on and it's kind of like arbitrary when you want that to change, that could be a cause of it.
Oh, so if I just make a new scene, will then that allow me to change up the size and without affecting any of the other captions? Do I have that right?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. I'll give that a shot. Thanks so much.
Cool.
No problem. Thank you, Dan. And again, we just in the meantime, for anyone that is still struggling with that scenes concept and how it functions, we do have these brand new tutorials on our YouTube and Help Center. We have like a video editing 101 and a working with scenes standalone video that shows in detail how that functions. So be sure to check those out. But if you are experiencing an issue that's, needs to be solved in real time, connect with one of our support agents or come to our office hours and we'll be happy to help you. All right. It looks like we have another person on deck. Rolando.
Hey, how are you?
How are you doing?
All right, pretty good. This is awesome. I love the interaction. Love what you guys are doing here. Absolutely a fan of Descript and what you guys have been putting together. The platform seems to be getting better and better and better. It's just you guys taking over. Awesome. Kudos to you
Thank
guys.
you so much.
Question here is we use Riverside to record our podcast, and we tend to have multiple guests. We do special effects and sound buttons, and I don't know how familiar you are on the Riverside. You guys have the integration, which is great, saves some time. But when it comes to bringing all of those assets in, we may have 10, 15, 20 tracks at the end of the day when that comes in. Sometimes because of all of it, Riverside records each sound effect that may last 6 seconds as its own track. And so I think there's a limit on how many tracks can be pulled in at the same time on Descript. So that's one challenge. But then the second one, which kind of occurs when we just 2 or 3 of us just talking for an hour, is that the audio and video is not always synced up very well. And when it brings it in, it won't bring it in at 30 frames per second. It'll bring it in at a random size for the video. It may do a different frame rate for the actual video resolution. So I was wondering if you guys are aware of that or know about that, or anything that you could do to give us any pointers along those lines.
I think the number of track limit you're referring to is the max number of tracks we have in a sequence. I think the way we kind of envision the use of sequences is not so much about sound effects, and it's much more about having like multiple mics, multiple cameras that you need synced up together. Whereas things like sound effects, we still like expect to kind of live in the compositions. So I think that's probably a limitation with using the Riverside integration at the moment, is the way Riverside sees these is it's just all tracks and doesn't have sort of the semantic distinction between these are sort of voice tracks, like spoken tracks, versus sound effects or background music or computer audio and things like that. So I think at the moment, the best path would probably be to pull in the files directly, like off of your computer into Descript, putting the voice tracks into a sequence, and then pulling the sound effects in just directly into the composition wherever the moments in time where you want them are. And that'll give you more control over things like actually editing when exactly sound effects come in post as well, because you can actually like tweak them a little bit more. You're not tied into exactly how it went down live if you decide that you actually wanted to tweak something, and the composition will feel like a much easier place to do that kind of adjustment than having to go into the sequencer.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Awesome.
Do you know about the video frame issue at all, Pranav?
I've seen some bug reports around that, so I think that is something we're looking into right now. Sorry, I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, and the size, the landscape size is the other. It won't always pull it in at 1080 by 720 or 1920 by 1080. It'll say custom. If you go to the different video sizes, it'll say custom instead of 1920 by 1080.
You're talking about like the composition aspect ratio?
That is correct. That is correct.
We did fix a number of issues with the aspect ratio in the most recent release that just went out earlier this week. So hopefully you're not seeing that anymore, but if you are, please let us know and we'll look into that. But that specific one I think we fixed.
And I'll ask them, but I know that as of 2 weeks ago, when we were working on something, there was still an issue, but good to know that there's been an update for that.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rolando. Great setup, by the way. Like the whole room. I know we took you off screen, so you can't respond to me. Okay, next we're going to have some of the text questions that you all have been submitting. Thank you again to everyone that's been on live so far. So feel free. Okay. Great question. How do we get the new Descript? Someone can't seem to find it.
Probably a couple things to check. One is make sure you're in the latest version of the app. So just check for updates in the app, make sure if there are any that you get on the latest version. And then the second is we haven't actually made any changes to your existing projects. So existing projects will still load in Classic, and you have the option to copy them to Storyboard. And then when you make a new project, you'll see that the new project default now creates Storyboard projects. So those are probably the two most common ways I've seen people get tripped up by kind of how we're rolling this out right now. I'm not sure if those are going to address the questions. So maybe if that doesn't do the trick, follow up with us.
Great. Can you give this person a hint on the roadmap to where AI is going? Their fear is that AI will remove the creator from the creator. An existential question for the panel.
We talk to people about this all the time, really smart people. And the truth is that nobody really knows. Everybody speculates where it's going to go, but nobody really knows. But it's definitely getting more and more powerful. All I can say is that we're in your camp. Like, if the creator is gone, then Descript is gone, and there's no role for us either. So we're incentivized to build a tool that allows humans to leverage technology, AI or otherwise, to better realize their vision, to refine their craft, but not meant to supplant the creator by any means.
Cool. And I know we'll be discussing the whole AI thing a lot more in our blogs and content as well. It's something we're all thinking about because a lot of us here are creators ourselves, so we don't want to be replaced, ground down by the cog of history. Okay, what sort of training materials are available for learning the new version, and where do I find them? I believe I can answer this question. We do have a whole new help center with storyboard specific content. Again, that is at help.descript.com. I'm going to bring that up here. And do check our YouTube, youtube.com/Descript. We are posting all the same tutorial content there that we're posting on our help center, so you can access it wherever you prefer to learn. There's also on the Help Center, in addition to the videos, written articles, if that's how you prefer to absorb information. So just keep your eyes on there. Do tell us in the comments or what have you, if there's something you want to learn more about. That is how we will really be prioritizing what we create next, is what do people want to learn more about. So keep your feedback coming. Let's move on to the next question. Are there new features still on the roadmap for the podcast product / use case? And can we have a quick check-in on any changes to the audio version? I saw this coming up in the chat a lot too. So if any of you want to speak to that.
So definitely, as I think kind of came up in a previous answer when Andrew was talking about like the audio video distinctions, the continuum, like where content is going to be. We see like audio as like a fundamental part of this kind of narrative storytelling. So like the podcast use case is still massive for us. A lot of the changes in this release are definitely focused on the video podcasting more so than audio only. But we think a lot of the design changes to the app overall are just going to feel net better, make a lot of features easier to find. And on the roadmap, we have a lot of pretty exciting changes for just like script centric editing coming up, and I think they're going to be huge for podcasters and anyone working in audio. I don't know if Andrew, you want to add anything there?
No, just like what you said. Like I think Descript is basically an audio first editor, right? And so we've tried to build it in a way that most of the features that we build, or a lot of the features that we build, are beneficial to both audio or video. We don't really have like an audio roadmap and a video roadmap. And so just as the editor gets better, it's going to get better and better for podcasting and for video.
Great. So I think we're almost at time. So we are going to ask one last question here and then let you all carry on with your day. Can you review pricing again? Are there new pricing plans? Talk about pricing, please.
Yeah, so we made a tweak to our pricing plan, which is that the free plan previously would just basically stop doing things after you used your 3 hours of transcription, and then you couldn't transcribe anymore. We changed it so that it's an hour of recurring monthly transcription. So it's a more proper freemium plan that you can continue to use at low volume. And then other than that, we have our creator plan, which is $15 a month, and our pro plan, which is $30 a month. When you sign up for Descript, you're put on a 1 week free trial of pro by default. So you get to try all the features. And then if you decide not to move to a paid plan, it takes you down to the free version.
Great. So that was our last question that we have time for. I just want to thank you all again for participating and for being here. The recording will be on YouTube after the event. You can subscribe to our channel. Please do, because that makes me look good. youtube.com/Descript for updates. What's next? We will be sending a follow-up email as well with a bunch of links and resources for you to get started with all the new features. As we said before, Andrew will be hosting daily office hours at 9 a.m. PST in our Discord. So let's bring up that Discord banner again. Let's see here. So so just join the server there. We will also send a link in that email I was referring to join the server if you haven't already. And that's also a really great place for community support and asking questions on the fly. Lastly, we also launched the new Descript on Product Hunt, which is a website called Product Hunt. And we'd love for you to check that out. There's a link at the bottom of your screen in Crowdcast for you to do that. So that's a wrap. Again, check out our Help Center, YouTube for new tutorial content, feedback, descript.com. If you have feedback or feature requests that you want to share with us. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.